Hey guys, this is Kike. Thank you so much for listening to this brief episode. What I want to do is to just continue to highlight my new book that's coming out November 1st, Green Flags, How to Be the Kind of Person That You Need in Your Life. You can actually go to my website right now at kikeautry.com/book. And there you'll see a link that will take you directly to Amazon where you can buy the paperback, which looks pretty much exactly like this for $15. Or there's a hardcover that's coming out. I don't have a version of that one to show you on this episode, but that one's going to be $19.95, a little bit under $20. You can go ahead and pre-order it now, and it should ship out November 1st. Which is going to be here in a few weeks. For the remainder of the episode, I want to spend just a few moments reading the very first part of the introduction and then talking a little bit about why I decided to write this book. There's several reasons why, but I want to highlight two that are pretty important to me. So let me go ahead and begin by reading the very first part of the introduction. So it starts with a quote from James Hollis. And as you'll notice, if you have looked at the book or if you've read the first chapter or the introduction, which you can, again, find for free on my website, kikeautry.com/book, you'll notice that James Hollis actually provided a very generous endorsement of the book. We kind of paraphrased what he said in the front cover, where he writes, "A probing, thoughtful introduction to the dynamics of relationships." But here's the quote that the book begins with in the intro. "The quality of all our relationships is a direct function of our relationship to ourselves." The above quote lingers with me to this day. I encountered it on a bleak and rainy Sunday morning. Before anyone else was up in the house, I picked up Hollis's The Eden Project, In Search of the Magical Other, and started reading. The book was a recommendation from my therapist. At the time, I was a year into weekly therapy sessions with him. Therapy sessions started after my life and career collapsed. The year prior to starting therapy, I was a senior pastor in Colorado. This role was the culmination of a decade working in various churches. Almost a year into that position, I started an affair with a woman who was a staff member. When my infidelity was exposed, I lost my job, my marriage fell apart, and any faith I had was shattered. Initially, therapy was an attempt to save my marriage and figure out what I was going to do for employment. It quickly became something much more than this. I established a strong connection with my therapist. He fostered a safe space to explore my deepest fears and longings. While therapy helped me discern that I needed to proceed with a divorce and take serious steps towards becoming a therapist, the real gift of therapy was helping me come to terms with my own unhealthy relationship to myself. So that's how the introduction begins. A lot of people have really resonated with that. They have appreciated some of the vulnerability there, some of that autobiographical sketch that connects to who I am now as a therapist. In fact, I had a good friend who warned me that the book was a little bit too vulnerable, maybe too intimate. And I responded by saying, I appreciate the feedback, but I don't think it's vulnerable enough. So I actually edited quite a few things. I could have gotten into many more details, but I think I'm proud of the balance of not oversharing, but really trying to connect with my own story and making that a piece of the experience. So that's how the intro starts. In terms of reasons why I wrote the book, there's two that are coming up for me now. And these two reasons are explored in the intro if you're interested in going and downloading it and reading it for yourself. One of the reasons was connected to this ongoing joke that my current wife and I always make. We're both therapists. We work a lot of hours. We see a lot of people. And, several times a week, without fail, we'll be connecting after dinner, maybe sharing a cocktail, and we'll say that, we really don't like people. And that's only a half truth. And it really isn't true. We actually really love people. I mean, we're therapists. We enjoy connecting with others and doing whatever we can to create a space to help them grow. We have friends. We love our family. It's not true that we really don't like people, but I think we do speak at least a half truth when we say we don't like people. And I really was sitting with that. And what I realized, and this is one of the reasons I wrote the book, what I realized is while I really love certain kinds of people, there are many others who I don't connect with. Sounds a little harsh, but I don't really like them. And that's because these are people that have not done the hard individual work of self-examination, self-reflection, addressing some of these unconscious psychological patterns that I describe in the book. People that let their anxiety overwhelm others. Individuals who are so insecure that they can't celebrate the wins of their friends, of their family members. Individuals who are not aware that they're projecting, that they're placing their own negative shit onto other people and not really accepting the fact that it's their baggage that needs to be worked on. So when we say that we don't like people, I think a more accurate thing that we're trying to describe is that we are frustrated, we're depleted, we're allergic to people who haven't put in the work, you could say. So that's one reason I wrote Green Flags. The other reason, and I'm going to pull it up here in the intro, is, and this connects to the actual title of the book. I spent a lot of time on Instagram looking at different psychologists and psychological influencers to see what they have to say. And months ago, before I started this project, one of the people that I follow who has a ton of followers, goes by Her Psychology, she posted this incredible brief image with a list of what she called green flags. And that immediately caught my attention because I'm so used to reading about the red flags. And I'm also so used to a lot of people pointing the finger and describing all the ways that others need to work on themselves and figure their life out. I rarely see someone talking about these positive traits or the things that they've worked on that make them a green flag type of person. And so these green flags that she highlighted in her Instagram post were: they celebrate the wins of people, they remember the small things about you, they respect your boundaries, you feel energized after seeing them, they listen without being defensive, they allow you to be fully yourself, they make you feel safe, you don't have to watch what you say, and they support your goals. And I absolutely love that. And after reading that, this book and its entire structure just came up in my imagination. In fact, I take every single one of those green flags and I convert them into a chapter. And the real idea behind the book is that to actually embody those traits, helping people feel safe, managing anxiety, respecting boundaries, celebrating the wins of others, on and on and on. To actually do that in an authentic and sustainable way is actually really tough. It's not just something you can do overnight. I argue in Green Flags that it takes a lot of self-examination, maybe even working with a therapist, or at least a trusted mentor, maybe an elder in your life who has a lot of wisdom. It definitely requires someone else to maybe point out the things that you cannot see. And so I wanted to write this book that brought this tradition of what's called depth psychology, rooted in figures like Freud and Carl Jung, who reckoned with the reality of something called the human unconscious, that we have a dimension to us that guides and motivates behavior that we're not always fully aware of. I wanted to bring that tradition into conversation with this maybe newer idea about green flags, that these are the traits, these are the values that a person embodies that makes other people feel safe and energized and drawn to them. I wanted to somehow bring those two together, and hopefully I'm successful in doing that. Thank you so much for listening to this brief podcast episode. I want to encourage you again to go to the website, kikeautry.com/book. There you can find out more information about the book. You can download the first chapter and the introduction for free. You'll also find the link that sends you to Amazon, where you can buy or pre-order either the paperback or the hardcover. Let me end by saying that anyone who's listening is welcome to attend the book launch that's going to be happening on November 17th. That's a Sunday, from around 11 a.m. to 12. And this is going to be held at the Center for the Healing Arts and Sciences. Leela Scott Price and John Price are our friends. They're the co-founders of the Center for the Healing Arts and Sciences, and they've been gracious enough to host the book launch. We're so grateful for that. And it's going to be a great time. There's probably going to be light refreshments. There's going to be an opportunity to ask questions. We might do a reading. I'm thinking of possibly doing a live recording for Psyche Podcast where John Price maybe interviews me about the book. We're still figuring out all the details. But for sure, if you can make it, would love to see you, would love to hang out. November 17th, 11 a.m. Just look up the Center for the Healing Arts and Sciences in Houston, Texas.